I'll do it like this. So we're going to graph y equals 3 negative 1/2 x cubed. So where the textbook doesn't do these examples as much, it's just like you have to be able to, first of all, recognize which graph this is to start with. So off to the side or in your head, this should come up. What's the parent graph? What do you think? Does this look more like a square root graph or an x cubed graph? X cubed. Oh, amazing. Yeah. So we see the cube and we're like, okay, what does my basic x cubed graph look like? And I draw a little picture of it in my head. Right? We had this graph. We might remember there was sort of like 3 key points in a row that we used. That was our picture graph of x cubed. Next, what's happening here? What's changed? There is a 3 on the outside. What does that 3 do? That's going to be a vertical stretch. We're going to multiply our y values by 3. What does this negative do? It's a reflection. That negative is inside the cubed, so it's a horizontal reflection. And this 1/2 is a horizontal stretch. We are going to multiply our x values by negative 2. So we had our original graph. We have that idea in our head. We know these 3 points. This far left one is -1, -1. Then we have 0, 0, and 1, 1. And what's going to happen to those points? We know that we have to multiply our x values by -2, and we have to multiply our y values by 3. So if I do that, this point becomes 2, -3. 0, 0 stays 0, 0. And 1, 1 will now be -2, +3. And maybe I'll just sketch that to the side here. I'm going to label the point 2, -3, 0, 0, and 2, 3. And there's something wrong with my graph, and I would get an E9 error for this one as well. I remembered the arrowheads. Remember the E9 error was arrowheads? If you forget arrowheads on the graph, you lose a half a mark. Because you need to show the graph continues.
Oh.
Okay. The second thing is, even though I wrote down the points here, and it is more than obvious that I mean to go by ones, someone who's looking at that has to make that assumption that it's going by ones instead of going by tens or going by 3.2 or something. So we do need to label, and just labeling the points is enough to add a scale to your graph. So when you draw a graph, you need to provide its scale. And then your scale has to, you can't be going 1, then 3, then 15, and have the spaces all the same. That would be bad. Perfect.